Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. You know, it shakes people up when I make arguments that some old timers, Evander Holyfield, for example, Antonio Tarver, Bernard Hopkins, would have a decent chance against Wladimir Klitschko. Right? I know it's anathema. I know many people view the heavyweight division as the holy grail. Many people will look at these men as either too old or too small to deal with a fighter they perceive to be young and vibrant, in his prime, ruling the roost in the heavyweight division. But styles make fights. And Wladimir Klitschko can't fight inside. Let me challenge the public. Name me the fight where Wladimir Klitschko roughed the guy up for a prolonged period of time on the inside, like Andre Ward did to Carl Froch at the end of the fourth round of their fight, or like Andre Ward fought Alan Green, right? We know Bernard Hopkins can fight inside. We know Evander Holyfield got inside a decade plus ago on Mike Tyson, right? All I'm saying is an older fighter who can avoid Wladimir Klitschko's jab, right? Wladimir Klitschko's a long jabber. An older fighter who can avoid the jab, who knows how to get inside, and who can stay inside on Wladimir Klitschko's chest. And keep in mind, having a nice long reach, like Wladimir Klitschko does, is great from distance. But it's a problem when someone's able to get inside of that reach. So, I understand that against certain fighters, Sherman the Tank Williams, for example, comes to mind. A guy like Evander Holyfield is going to have problems. But he'd have less problems against Wladimir Klitschko simply because he'd be able to get inside on Wladimir Klitschko and make Wladimir Klitschko uncomfortable. And quite frankly, Wladimir Klitschko's inside game is so lacking that the best he could do when David Haye got inside on him, and keep in mind, David Haye's not an inside fighter himself. When David Haye got inside on him, the best Wladimir Klitschko could do was lean on the back of David Haye's neck. And of course, Haye would then flop, right? He would go to his knees rather than get leaned on. Just imagine if an Evander Holyfield gets inside and knows not to have his neck exposed and is literally inside with his head under Wladimir Klitschko's face. Isn't that the Evander Holyfield reputation, headbutting guys, right? Don't we accuse every great inside fighter, Timothy Bradley, Andre Ward, Evander Holyfield, of getting inside and headbutting guys? The reason they're headbutting guys is the guy they're fighting is wide open inside. He doesn't even know how to defend his head, right? He doesn't even know to put his hand up on his chin to parry a guy who's up under his chest. I think if you look at the Corey Sanders fight, and keep in mind, Sanders, got inside on Wladimir Klitschko, was a southpaw like Antonio Tarver is, played angles, was a little bit off at the side. Look at that tape, right? A little bit off at the side. You realize Wladimir Klitschko couldn't even clinch Corey Sanders. Think about it. Didn't know what to do inside. Once Corey Sanders, whose hand speed isn't blazing, once Corey Sanders got inside and landed a hard shot, Wladimir Klitschko was a sitting duck. Didn't have the survival skills inside. So the problem is, most of the guys, like Wladimir Klitschko's next opponent, Mormeck, they try to fight you from the outside in, right? If you're going to email me and tell me that guys like Tarver, Hopkins are too small to fight Wladimir Klitschko, understand that Mormeck is shorter than both of those guys, right? Just food for thought. And if you're a sitting duck outside and you're getting hit by Wladimir Klitschko's left jab and he's able to follow up with a straight right hand, isn't that his game? Right? If he's able to then follow up with a straight right hand and you're outside, you're going to get KO'd like Mormeck is going to get KO'd. That's what I think happens in that fight. But if you're a fighter like a Bernard Hopkins or an Evander Holyfield, and keep in mind, Holyfield fought Nikolai Valuev from the outside in. David Haye copied Holyfield to beat Valuev, right? Holyfield, like Hopkins, can fight you from long range when he needs to. Hopkins and Holyfield would be, and Tarver, they would be outside of the jab. Then they would find themselves inside. And what's Wladimir Klitschko going to do at that point? Lean on the back of their neck, hoping that they go to the canvas? You know, not only that, once they're inside, these guys know how to defend themselves. Wladimir Klitschko doesn't throw a lot of short hooks. And he's not his brother. He's scripted and robotic. His brother's an actual fighter. Right? So I don't mean to call out Wladimir Klitschko too hard. He is a heavyweight champion. But let's not kid ourselves. Styles make fights. If you have the skills to get inside, right? I'm not saying Bernard Hopkins knocks out Wladimir Klitschko. I'm not saying that. You don't need to knock out a guy to take his title. All you have to do, and it's easier said than done, is to exploit a guy's weakness if he doesn't know how to deal with you inside, and if he doesn't know how to clinch, and if you're better inside and better at clinches and know how to intuitively dodge a jab or stay outside a jab, right? Then, of course, you have a chance on Wladimir Klitschko. Look at the Hopkins Tarver tape and tell me what Hopkins would have to do differently to beat Wladimir Klitschko, right? And so I know it's preposterous. One of the problems in boxing is you have to sell a fight to the public before the fight gets made, right? But understand that boxing history is replete with fighters jumping weight classes. And I'm not talking about today's weight classes. I'm talking about Henry Armstrong when we only had 8 weight classes, literally having 3 of the belts, right? I'm talking about Ray Robinson jumping to the light heavyweight division, schooling Joey Maxim before getting heat exhaustion, right? My point to you is styles make fights. When you see a big robotic heavyweight who doesn't know how to fight inside and who is scripted, right? It's, left jab, straight right hand, left hook. When he goes up against a seasoned fighter who already has dealt with those 3 punches and knows how to get inside and can literally get his head under Wladimir Klitschko's chin and use Klitschko's height against him, I think that fighter has a chance, right? I love the Klitschko brothers. I think Vitaly Klitschko is one of the best heavyweights of all time, right? But let's not confuse the Klitschko last name with the differences between the brothers. I mean, understand, Vitaly Klitschko is a different fighter than Wladimir Klitschko. Wladimir Klitschko has been dropped several times in fights. Wladimir Klitschko hasn't shown the ability to fight inside, right? Wladimir Klitschko throws long punches. You can get inside of those punches, right? Just because he's a Klitschko doesn't mean he's his brother, right? And let me just point out that sometimes lack of size actually helps you in the ring, right? Because Hopkins, Holyfield, Tarver, they're all more mobile than Wladimir Klitschko. Just food for thought. Let me also make one final point on Antonio Tarver. You know, Antonio Tarver, like Orlando Salido, who destroyed Juan Manuel Lopez at a lighter weight, he works angles. He's always a little bit off at the side, and he's a southpaw to begin with. So imagine fighting a southpaw who knows how to use it to his advantage. And also, look at the fact that Tarver has already fought at heavyweight, right? Tarver has said in interviews he's sticking around to fight the Klitschko brothers. Now, the way the brothers operate is a bad style matchup for Wladimir Klitschko ends up fighting Vitaly Klitschko instead of Wladimir, right? What I want these older savvy fighters to do is to literally start calling out the Klitschko that suits their style. And for the three guys I've just mentioned, right, Holyfield, Hopkins, and Tarver, I want them to specifically call out Wladimir Klitschko, because I think Wladimir Klitschko needs to be forced to fight more mobile opposition who could literally take him apart either from a southpaw stance with mobility, Tarver, or from inside out like Hopkins and Holyfield could, right? And so I know these fights sound laughable to the public. Who cares? Bottom line is this. Style-wise, I'll take my chances, especially if Wladimir Klitschko goes off, as I suspect he would, at greater than a 6-1 favorite. I'd take my chances. Obviously, Hopkins is the most problematical from a betting perspective because he hasn't fought above 175 pounds. But all I'm saying is he wouldn't have to get to 240 to fight Wladimir Klitschko. If he's able to get up to 200 at a certain point, all he wants to do is to be able to get in the ring and use his skills. Keep in mind, David Haye, who can't fight inside, went the distance with Wladimir Klitschko. Eddie Chambers, who doesn't hit, in my opinion, as hard as Antonio Tarver, made it to the closing seconds of the 12th round against Wladimir Klitschko. Why is it that we feel that Wladimir Klitschko is impenetrable, is unbeatable? I have no idea. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments for me here on YouTube. Holyfield against Wladimir Klitschko, I'll just tell you right now online, I take Holyfield outright in that fight. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments for me here on YouTube. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com. And let me point out, when I say I'll take Holyfield, I'm talking about if the fight is made this year. There is an age dynamic in boxing. Let's not play games. Let's not have fans waiting several years for that one, right? I think that's a good fight. I think that the effort to marginalize Evander Holyfield without facing him in the ring is unfortunate, especially since we all know Evander Holyfield beat Nikolai Valuev when he last fought for the title. So let me know what you think. Leave your comments for me here on YouTube. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com. Thanks for watching.